Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 288 for March 21st, 2023. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On today's show, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell appears to be getting a contract extension by the owners pretty soon, and the Canadian Football Hall of Fame class of 2023 was announced. In this week's history lesson, we tell the history of the defunct United Football League. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
It's been a lot of fun recently. We've been a little more in simpatico in these history lessons because you've written them, and then I am sitting here on the video producer's side helping you orchestrate and get that figured out. So we've been, I've been enjoying our time doing the video versions of your history lessons because
it's just more time for you to yell at me for not doing things right. Nope, didn't like that take. Do it again.
Yep, I was just gonna say, y'all should see some of the bloopers that I don't end up keeping because Randy delivers nothing but gold every single time.
We did our first one a couple weeks ago, and what was it? It was like a half an hour.
Oh no, it was more than that.
To get 2 minutes of usable.
It was more than that
for a history lesson.
I want to say that was at least 45 to 50 minutes because we recorded twice. Because you ended up goofing up, and I scrapped 15 minutes of video, and then we did it for another 40 minutes on top of that. It's always hard when you're trying a new thing,
right?
To figure out the process. We've gotten it down. You went from 40 minutes. We cut it down to like, what was it, 17 minutes?
8 minutes for the last.
And then then now we're down to about 8 minutes. Thanks to your ingenuity with a teleprompter app on your iPad. That's been fun for you.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. I can't remember. I write these things so I don't have to remember them. So I write them down, and I think they're good the way they're written, but I can't remember word for word what I wrote and recite it. So it's been a learning process. So
I think I've enjoyed
writing them a little bit differently.
Yep, and I've enjoyed the final products we've ended up posting. We got, like I said, we got the video version of today's history lesson coming out tomorrow. Yep. So, yeah, and then we already recorded next week, so you don't have to work on a history lesson at all. You get to enjoy your vacation this weekend.
Well, I still got to keep going. I got more history lessons to write and facts to look up and whatever. So
yeah, but now you got extra.
I'll be tinkering around, but I won't be under the pressure for a while anyway. So yeah, something new. We'll see how long we keep doing this, but right now, and I've got some old history lessons that I wanted to do under our old format, and some of these we might do as shorts, or a reel, whatever.
We're still figuring that part out.
Yeah, so we're doing a lot more with video these days.
I'm only one person editing all this crap, so you can only throw on the pile what I want on the pile.
You're the one that's pushing for all this.
That's true.
I'm just sitting back going, we're doing so many videos as it is. It seems like we're doing a video every day.
It seems like it, but we're not. I was like, when's the last time we posted a video? Oh, it was a week ago.
Yeah. All right, should we continue now?
I guess. I mean, thanks for listening to the podcast, everybody. This has been fun.
That's it. Well, we out of time.
If you get that reference, then you and Randy might be best friends. Because Lord knows, I've seen him stop every single person to be like, have you seen this video on YouTube from Saturday Night Live?
What up with that? We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show, as well as other selected videos, and they're getting to be more and more all the time. We're also on Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. So let's begin today's show, and we begin with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. We started with Thursday night in Week 5 of the XFL. Can you believe it? We are about halfway through this season.
Midway point, yep.
The Seattle Sea Dragons defeated the previously undefeated Houston Roughnecks 21-14.
Wow, that was a surprise.
It was a bit of a surprise. Seattle quarterback Ben DiNucci completed 17 passes for 209 yards, a touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions. He also ran the ball 4 times for 33 yards and another touchdown, while Houston quarterback Brandon Silvers completed 25 passes for 277 yards and a touchdown in the loss. Yeah, very defensive game. I feel like both defenses stepped up, made plays when they needed to, hence why DiNucci got picked off 3 times. And
Yeah.
there was even a moment where the broadcasters thought that they were calling out Josh Gordon, the wide receiver for the
Mm.
Sea Dragons. And
Oh, for
yeah,
not running the right
yeah, for
route
not
or
running the
something.
right route. And
Yeah, he stopped and DiNucci threw the ball long and
yeah,
got intercepted.
so, but I mean, the Sea Dragons, I mean, despite all those mistakes, they clean them up.
Mm-hmm.
Sea Dragons might be a scary team going
Yeah,
forward.
they sure are.
But we'll wait and see that. And apparently, in the post game press conference, DiNucci talked about how the Sea Dragons have played 24 games in like a 30-day span,
Mm.
or not 24 games in a 24-day span. They've played, their 4 or 5 games, which
Yeah.
is unheard of.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
lot.
because I think they had to have played Saturday or Sunday, but then they're turning around and playing on a Thursday night all of a sudden. So they just feel like their schedule hasn't been as fairly balanced as some of the other teams in the league.
Yeah,
But
I think that was a real late night Thursday game too, and I don't think I saw hardly any of that.
Yeah.
It didn't come on like 9, 10 o'clock.
yeah, not my only gripe right now with the XFL has been a lot of the weird start times lately. I get you got the NCAA tournament going on,
Right.
but still, it's just like, man, you're really throwing them on the back burner right now. And I get it; they're not as hot a commodity as the March Madness tournament, but
And they've got a Monday night game coming up next week.
well, that one makes more sense. Well, I guess we could talk about that a little later. On Saturday, the DC Defenders continued their unbeaten streak by defeating the St. Louis Battlehawks 28-20. Battlehawks quarterback AJ McCarron goes for over 1,000 yards passing on the season, while the attendance at the game was 35,868 individuals, only a few thousand short of last week.
Yeah,
But still,
38,000 the week before.
still crossing the 30K mark. Good
Right.
for them. I
Yep.
mean, that is a heck of an atmosphere they've built there in St.
Yeah.
Louis.
There and Washington.
Yes.
They seem to be the ones that are really into these XFL teams.
Yep.
St. Louis, you can understand because not having an NFL team since the Rams moved back to LA. So yeah, they're dying for football there, and they love it.
Yep. And then DC quarterback Jordan Tamau completed 12 passes for 90 yards and no touchdowns, while running back Abram Smith carried the ball 23 times for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. He may be your league MVP if he keeps up this
That
pace.
was a heck of a performance.
A 70-yard run, a 62-yard run, and a 5-yard touchdown run. All incredible. This dude just found a seam, found a hole, and he just, see you later.
He
He
got
was
past the line
gone.
and he was gone.
Yep.
Nobody caught him after that.
And then for St. Louis, AJ McCarron again, he completed 22 passes during the game for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of those throws went for over 50 yards. So there were some big plays in this game, including a kickoff return that almost went to the house, which was a lot of fun at the start of the second half.
This was an exciting game.
It was.
My Battlehawks just came up a little bit short. They played well, but man, that DC team is just, on offense and defense, they are, I'd say they're the team to beat this year from what I've seen so far in the first 5 weeks.
It just might be. And we'll tease that in a second.
Yeah.
The Vegas Vipers got their first win over the Orlando Guardians, 35-32. Vegas quarterback Luis Perez completed 20 passes for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Orlando quarterback Quentin Dormady completed 22 passes for 256 yards and 2 touchdowns in the loss, while wide receiver Cody Latimer caught 8 passes for 124 yards and a touchdown for the Guardians.
Yeah, I don't, every week I try to do the quarterback stats because they've, got some decent numbers, but rarely do you see a wide receiver or a running back in this league over 100 yards. So when somebody does, I want to
It's been
point that
tough.
out.
Seattle's had a couple of great receivers getting over 100 yards between Josh Gordon and I always forget the other guy's name.
But those are few and far between. It's not
True.
like every week somebody on the team, it's like running backs are getting, 30, 20, 40 yards a game. Some of the wide receivers, maybe
it hasn't been a great
50
for
yards.
stats, like your typical
Right.
NFL style stats. But
And I understand they're trying to get guys in to play, so one guy's not there all game long
Right.
to get the
and
big
the
stats.
running clock doesn't give you as much time
Right.
to
Right.
get in plays. So we're dealing with less plays, which means less yards, which means less everything. So, but regardless, stat lines are whatever for this league right now.
Sure.
All right, and then finally on Sunday night, the Arlington Renegades got the win over the San Antonio Brahmas, 12-10. Not a high-scoring affair in this one.
No, I watched a good share of this game.
Okay, Renegades quarterback Kyle Sloter completed 14 passes for 148 yards with no touchdowns, but threw an interception, while San Antonio quarterbacks Jack Cohn and Reed Sinnott combined to complete 20 passes for 139 yards, a touchdown and 3 interceptions. That's combined.
Yeah. Yeah,
Two dudes.
combined they were worse than the other guy. Yeah. By about 9 yards.
And real quick, we're going to go over the standings. Yep, no longer looking at the games coming ahead. We've hit the halfway point. So
Yep.
the standings and playoff positioning now is in full swing. Starting with the North Division, the DC Defenders, undefeated, obviously, 5-0, followed by the St. Louis Battlehawks at 3-2, and the Seattle Sea Dragons at 3-2, and my Vegas Vipers, lowly at the bottom with a 1-4 record.
Hey, at least they got that goose egg off
Yes,
the
they did.
scoreboard.
And in the South Division, the Houston Roughnecks sit at 4-1, followed by the Arlington Renegades at 3-2, the San Antonio Brahmas at 1-4, and the Orlando Guardians at 0-5. I feel like the Guardians got to get one soon. I feel like they're going to get a matchup here that will favor them.
Yeah, one undefeated team, one winless team left.
And I believe they play not this upcoming week, but the week after. So
well,
we could have a potential unbeaten and winless team facing each other.
Yeah.
But we would sit here and talk more XFL. We would love to talk more XFL, but alas, we try to keep this podcast around an hour. So we decided, you know what? We've already pre-recorded a special XFL mid-season video that will go up later this week. Keep your eyes and ears out for that. We're going to dive into some thoughts on how the league's been halfway through the season and look ahead at who we think could end up in the championship game just based on what we've seen halfway through. We could both be wrong, but
sure.
It's just a little video we decided to throw together. So be on the lookout for that. And now we will move on to the Indoor Football League, who kicked off its 2023 season with 2 games over the weekend. On Friday, it saw the Arizona Rattlers defeat the Quad City Steamwheelers, who wore very weird green jerseys, I assume, for St. Patrick's Day. But it looked very odd with their color scheme. Anyway, the Rattlers again won 60-53 in this game. There's a couple of great stills from this game that I was almost going to use to put on our graphic for this week, but we decided to go with the Goodell story over the Indoor Football League. So I scrapped that. But yeah, some good stuff there. And then on Sunday, the Frisco Fighters defeated the Green Bay Blizzard in embarrassing fashion, 76-30.
Wow.
It's been a while since we've had a score like that.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the Champions Indoor Football. It was their week 3. You want to talk about embarrassing scores?
Yes, let's hear it.
They had 2 games this week, and both were won by embarrassing scores. On Saturday, you had the Omaha Beef defeating the Southwest Kansas Storm by the score of 65-15. Oof. And then Monday night, just last night, the second game of the week 3, saw the Billings Outlaws defeat the Topeka Tropics 66-27.
Just a little bit better, but oof.
Not very competitive games this past week. So everybody else was on bye this week. Pick it up with week 4 next week, and hopefully we'll get some more competitive games from both of these indoor leagues.
Man.
And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard. So let's move on to some NFL news this week. The news is really all about free agent signings, trades.
Just like last week, we aren't going to be able to cover every single transaction that came down the wire, but we're going to take some notes of some of the interesting ones that we thought of.
Right. Here are some of the big ones. Seems like right after we got done podcasting last week.
Yeah, it was what was it? Tuesday we recorded.
Right.
And the legal tampering period was still in effect, whatever they want to call it, early signing period. And then Wednesday, the very next day, was when everything opened up. And I thought for sure we would get the Lamar Jackson, the Aaron Rodgers deal done. I thought all that stuff would hit the fan on that Wednesday, and it'd be a big explosion, but nope.
Nothing yet from either of those two.
I need to hamper my expectations when the free agent... These first 2 days, that's when it is. That's the most exciting time, is the days leading up to that free agent period on that Wednesday. Because after that, it seemed like a bunch of nothing. I mean, we had a few. Obviously, we're about to talk about some. People got signed. All the big stuff, all the bigger deals are done and over with before the signing thing even starts. So why even have that as the date? Like
you said, Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, they're still sitting out there with.
Technically, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, supposedly they're just working out the fine details, but it's essentially a done deal that he's going to the Jets.
See. Until I see ink on paper.
Until whatever the Jets, got to give up to get Aaron Rodgers, whether it be a couple first-round picks or what. I mean, shoot.
All right, so let's get into some of these. The first thing that happened last week, Baker Mayfield has signed a 1-year, $4 million contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You think that's going to be a good fit for one season?
It's hard to say. It is a great little show me deal. The Buccaneers get a veteran guy who's been around. Baker showed up at the end of last year, after getting kicked around from going from Carolina to the Rams and then filling in for Matt Stafford there at the end. I thought Baker looked okay. He still got
At
some
times,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, he didn't have much time to get into it before he got thrown into playing a
Yeah, but
game.
hopefully if he can clean up his game a little bit and, I think he's got some weapons there and
Hmm.
uh, Tampa Bay to get him started, unlike Carolina when he kind of got out there. I mean, they had weapons in Carolina too. Don't get me wrong. He had a quarterback battle with Sam Darnold there, so I don't know if that helped him or not. I think as of right now, this makes him the guy.
Sure, sure,
So
yeah,
hopefully he can. I'd hate to see him squander his chance. Look, I like Baker. He's my favorite player,
yeah,
but there's elements of Baker I like. I'm rooting for Baker to succeed
yeah.
and make more of those commercials.
Well, I wonder if he'll be doing that at the Tampa
Hell,
Stadium
he didn't
now.
do it in L.A. or Carolina, so
Didn't have time.
I wonder if they dropped him as a sponsor.
I don't know. Another big free agent, well, not signing, but running back Ezekiel Elliott was cut by the Cowboys after 7 seasons, and as of yet, he has not been picked up with by
I don't know
anybody.
anybody who would want to pick up that contract. He's probably gonna ask for big money, so he's probably gonna have to take a more humbling deal.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think Zeke is bad. He definitely got outplayed by Tony Pollard last year in Dallas, and boy, how embarrassing is it to have your last play as a Dallas Cowboy be you snapping the ball and then getting run over by a defensive
That's
lineman.
right. I forgot
That was
about
his.
that.
That was going around. That was his final play as a Dallas Cowboy.
Mm,
So we'll see. I think Zeke could still, if he stays healthy, he's still got it in the tank. He's still a very, very electric, player, and he's a
mhm.
very big receiving threat on top of running the ball.
Right.
So whoever signs him, I'm going to be very curious who pulls that trigger. And the other part of that is the contract. What kind of contract are they going to give him? Like I said, is it going to be a humbling deal, or are they going to pay him? Who
Well, they're
knows?
not paying running backs these
Especially a
days
guy who's been in the league for 7 years.
like they
That's
did when Barry Sanders
yeah.
was around. I mean, running back just isn't that big of a deal anymore. I mean, the only time you use a running back is late in the game when you're trying to sit on a lead. Other than that,
Well,
your wide receivers and your quarterbacks and your linemen are
let's
getting
not
the
go that. I think it's
contracts.
more. I mean, running backs are great when they're like a great player and they don't get hurt a lot. But when you got a lot of these guys get banged up, they get used so much. But they like a running back nowadays too. Can you run the ball? Can you run between the tackles? Like you have to do everything as a running back. You have
Can
to
you
catch the
catch? Yeah,
ball out
you
of the backfield.
especially catch the ball.
And that's a big selling point for I think a lot of teams. That's why you're going to see if a running back gets big money, it's because they can do all those sort of things.
Hmm.
You're not going to. It's not the days of Adrian Peterson and Barry Sanders and Emmett Smith are long gone. Where you're
Yeah,
the one you're
yep,
just gonna workhorse it all game long, 30, 40 carries a game or whatever. Like that's not how it's done anymore.
yeah.
You got to catch that ball too. You got to block.
And
And those guys are more apt to get hurt. Like that's why I'm shocked. Zeke is 7 years in the league. I can't believe that. But the shelf life of a running back in the NFL, especially, is not a long one. You get them to their look at Saquon Barkley getting to his uh was it 5th year option, or then you start getting franchise tagged. If you're still good at that point, they'll franchise tag. They'll do everything they can to not pay you that big fat contract.
mm,
That's why when Zeke got his big contract a couple years ago with the Cowboys, everybody was kind of like, really? Like, that's what you're going to do? Like, running backs come and go. And look what happened. They found Tony Pollard and they kind of threw Ezekiel Elliott to the wayside. So
yeah,
who knows?
yeah. All right. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen signs a 3-year, $25 million contract with the Carolina Panthers. That was a bit of a surprise, was it?
I don't know if it's a surprise. Like, I'm surprised he wants to go there. He thinks that I saw an interview with him where he thinks that they could be a playoff team. They could be a great team next year. We'll see. I think Thielen's still a great player. They definitely didn't use him as much, I felt like, in Minnesota because of Justin Jefferson just going off. But, I mean, I thought he was a great number 2 to a Justin Jefferson type. So, they lost, they traded away DJ Moore to the Bears. So now you get Adam Thielen, probably not a bad trade off there.
And now we're going to get into some news near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, yeah.
Some
Here you go,
Lions
everybody. Buckle
signings.
in. Here's your Lions segment of the podcast this week.
Running back Jamal Williams signs a 3-year, $12 million contract with the New Orleans Saints. Man, I was so sorry to see him go. I mean, he was the heart and soul of the team last year, and I was just so sorry to see him go. But listening to his comments, at New Orleans, he said that he felt like Detroit disrespected him with the offer that they gave him. But then they turned around.
Well, hold on. They signed.
Yeah, they actually signed Bears running back David Montgomery before um, Jamal signed with New Orleans, and Montgomery gets a 3-year, $18 million contract with the Lions. So I don't know what was disrespectful about the Lions contract offer, but Jamal Williams is getting $6 million less to go to another team where he could have, got that same money and stayed with Detroit.
Well, I'm gonna look. So there's a couple things to this. I think one, I bet you the Lions did. I won't say lowballed him, but I bet you that contract wasn't what he got in New Orleans. He wouldn't have come out had it been anything less than that, or had it been more than that. So it had to have been. They probably were thinking, and this is my thought process. I love Jamal Williams. We as Lions fans, Lions
Yes.
Nation loved Jamal
Everybody
Williams.
loved Jamal Williams.
And to see kind of the 180 on a lot of fans on Twitter when he made these comments disgust me. Like, oh, he doesn't know what kind of contract, his agent lied to him. I saw every single sort of tweet about that. But look, so my thing is, I like Jamal. He was a good player, but he is not running back one paying material. I would not have given him the contract that we ended up giving to David Montgomery, who has proven year after year and put up the numbers consistently to earn that contract. Now, would I have signed Jamal to even the contract he got with New Orleans? I hate to tell you, I wouldn't. I know he broke Lions records,
right?
With the touchdowns. He also, had 1,000 yards rushing. Good for him. I think it was great. He did have a great season. Don't get me wrong. But you do not pay a dude based off of one season. What did he do the year before with Detroit? He was okay. He was serviceable. Nowhere near what he did last year.
Everybody gets paid out based on one season.
And that's sort of the problem sometimes.
It's happened all the time.
It does.
It shouldn't, but it does happen.
But that's why I'm thinking Brad Holmes and the Lions, management, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes said, we're not going to pay him that kind of money. We like him. He was productive this year, but long term, we don't know if that's a sustainable thing. And the Lions put them, he was put in a lot of positions. I watched the highlights of all his touchdowns from last year. And I want to say a good 60% of them inside the 10-yard line. Some of them even in the 5. So he was put to get those league-leading touchdowns. He was put into some positions where they took out DeAndre Swift. They put him in it. It could have been DeAndre Swift with all those touchdowns for all we know. Yeah, and Jamal had like a 50-yard run. He had some 20s and whatever. But I just don't see where you pay a guy that money. Now Montgomery, on the other hand, if he stays healthy, great contract, $6 million a year. Montgomery was one of the leading tackle breakers in the league. He consistently was putting up great yardage and catches the ball out of the backfield. So he was one of those guys that's what you pay for. That is a starting running back type of guy. Jamal was always a great number 2 that we ended up using a lot as a number 1 sometimes when Swift was hurt. So that's where I'm at. And look, like I said, I love Jamal. I feel bad that he felt disrespected, but I'm sure the Lions didn't want to go out of their way. And maybe that's what set him off, was they were purposely trying to lowball him just so he would move on so they can make this other deal. I don't know. That's the business side of the NFL that can get icky and upsetting, but a team's got to try to improve and they got to look out for their wallets, and players got to try to get paid, and both those sides couldn't come to that agreement, and I think this is the best situation for both. In the end, I really do. I'm going to root for Jamal down in New Orleans. I'm going to, can't wait to see his highlights. I'm already loving his press conferences down there, despite taking a dig at my team.
You just like the fact that he wore a Pokemon hat.
Can you name that Pokemon?
Pikachu.
It was not Pikachu. Wow, Jamal would go off on you. That was an Eevee hat. He even told one of the reporters, it was great. He's like, oh, this is Eevee. This could transform into 8 different things. It was great. I love Jamal. I don't think there's anything fake about him. I think he's pretty genuine. So any of those fans saying otherwise, take a hike.
Yeah, I watched the highlight package on David Montgomery. Pretty impressive.
Montgomery's
but
great.
I mean, they can put together a highlight package and make anybody look like a
That's why it's a
Super Bowl
highlight
champ.
package. It's
So
the highlights.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how he's going to do. Hopefully, he'll be just what Detroit needs. I have faith in Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell for putting this team together.
Everything they've done this offseason, and you've started seeing it all over. Yep, sorry, everybody. This is the Lions segment. We're going to keep going. But it's been all over. Like, a lot of people everywhere. I tune into ESPN radio driving home from work. They're talking Lions, having a great weekend. We're going to talk about a couple more signings because I think the Lions have actually made some noise this offseason, and people are starting to take notice, which is weird for us.
Yeah, we never get to hear.
We never get this kind of
season Lions talk because once the season's over with, we don't hear from them until the draft or whatever. But now, they're everywhere.
I think I even saw it was either Sports Illustrated or some other one of those publications. put up their power rankings already for the NFL after a week of free agency.
Way too early.
Way too early. I get it. It's March, November. It's March, and they had the Lions at number 10 in their league power rankings. It's the 10th best team right now, and I'm not gonna get. We've done this before. We've had off seasons where we felt great, and then we went 0-16 the next year,
yeah.
or we've had a really rough season. So I'm trying not to get there, but hype is everywhere right now.
Yeah, it is.
And it didn't end with signing David Montgomery, because they also, I'm going to quickly get the news rolling with you again. Graham Glasgow, the guard from Denver, who formerly was with Detroit. He was actually a third-round pick back in 2016. He spent the last 3 years in Denver. He has come back to Detroit. Doesn't sound like he did great in Denver, but he was great for us in Detroit.
Yeah,
so
he was a good player.
He deserved that contract he got with Denver, just Detroit wasn't willing to pay that at that time. Now we get him back maybe a little cheaper.
Yep.
And I think it's a 1-year deal as well. So hey, hopefully he shells out. We put him back in that offensive line, which I think we have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL when healthy. So
if nothing else, he'll add some depth to the line, and a former player who knows the team, knows his teammates.
Knows a few of those
teammates
guys
are still there.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll work really good.
And speaking of depth, the Lions really, really fixing that defensive secondary. That's where I was like trying to tee you up.
I thought you were gonna take it.
You would be the guy who had missed the softball on the tee.
Yeah.
Big old whiff.
Sign safety C.J. Gardner Johnson from the Eagles.
The Eagles.
A guy I'd never even heard of before. You said he was really good.
He's really good.
Safety.
Some of the highlights you remember when there was a Bears player that punched the Saints player in the helmet a few years back?
No.
Oh well, that was him. He's
oh, wonderful.
He's the one who got hit. He's not the one who hit the.
Got hit. Okay.
He got out of left field. This Bears player just took a swing at him, but he's a little bit of a talker on the field, which I think the Lions are starting to want to get that swagger on defense. So you bring in a guy like him, who is also, I think Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for Detroit, was his high school coach. Yeah, he's got a history with Aaron Glenn, and he was down in New Orleans with Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell. So a little bit of familiarity there. A 1-year kind of deal. So they're getting him on a 1-year deal. I think Campbell and Brad Holmes are getting a lot of these 1-year lower contract. Like, hey, let's do a show me year, and
see how you work out.
Maybe you get paid here. Maybe you do good enough, you get paid somewhere else. But the Lions, I don't know what they're doing to convince people to come to Detroit, but I'm digging it.
I just think people want to come to Detroit now.
Sounds like
they've seen what happened in Detroit last year. They saw the kind of team they've got and the direction that they're going, and I think it's finally become a place where people are not like, oh man, I'm never going to go to Detroit. Go there and lose and never win anything. And now it's like, yeah, Detroit makes me a decent offer.
They made me an offer, officer.
I will go to Detroit and I'll check.
But between that and then they've restructured the contracts of Romian Okwara.
That's right.
They restructured the contract of their punter, Jack Fox, who literally just became the highest paid punter in the league not too long ago. So they restructured his deal. I believe they restructured one other player's deal. So they're making some moves. And like I said, what was it, last week or the week before, that the cap is fake. It doesn't matter, and they can work around it. So they've been doing some cap magic to try to make some more space. So we'll see. They might have some more signings coming up.
They also re-signed their kicker from last season.
Oh, Badgley?
Badgley, yeah. But I don't know.
Is this where Randy says the Lions are going to play like booty unless they draft Jake Moody? I want that as a T-shirt for the World of Football.
I'm just saying I hope that somehow they find a way to bring Jake Moody in.
I do too.
University of Michigan, whether it's draft him in the 7th round or get him as soon as the draft is over with. But I think that guy is destined to be a Lion, and he'll be in Detroit for a long time. Just like Jason
how motivated is that? Just because we know his dad and we have hung out with his dad at Lions training.
Nothing to do with it. I'm thinking about the team right now, and
not the interview you could get.
No.
Our weekly correspondence with Lions kicker Jake Moody. Welcome to the podcast.
No, he's one of the best kickers I've seen in a long
time.
He
could be the Aaron Rodgers to our Pat McAfee. That's what he could be to us. Our weekly segment with Jake Moody.
No.
Talking about kicking booty with Jake Moody on the World of Football every Tuesday. This stuff writes itself.
More videos. I don't know if I can handle more videos.
Randy, but it's Jake Moody here to talk about kicking booty.
Moving on. Lastly, in our NFL news thing, it's NFL owners look poised to give Roger Goodell a multi-year contract extension next week when the owners meet in Phoenix. Uh, I don't know if that's such a good idea. I'm not a
A
big fan of Roger Goodell.
lot of people aren't.
I think he's messed up some of the things over the last few years, you know. But I know the owners love him because he's going to take all the crap, all the criticism, and the owners can sit back and just let Goodell, take all the arrows and whatever that are coming that way from the owners. So I'm sure they're going to keep him, but I think it's time for a different commissioner in the NFL. Myself, that's just my opinion.
You also know why they won't.
Why?
On top of the fact that he'll take all the arrows and all the crap.
Why, son?
Money, money, money. The owners are getting more and more money. The NFL has never been more profitable. The NFL has never been more watched. The NFL has never been as 24 hours, on the news a
Yeah,
day than it is now.
yeah.
And
That's true. They
how much of
turned
that you can thank Roger Goodell for? I don't know. But why why fix what apparently ain't broke on their end? Sure. Does he still rub some fans the wrong way? Does he still get booed when he comes out at the draft?
constantly.
Sure. But you know what? That doesn't affect how much money they're making. Because all those people that are there at that at event, what did they do, Randy? They gave them money.
Yeah, yeah,
They gave them money to go boo him.
yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters who the commissioner of the NFL is. It is just a figurehead. He or she would be just a figurehead, and they're gonna, like you said, take the arrows, take the brunt of everything, answer some hard questions, sidestep some stuff. That's it's not a glamorous job, but I mean, he's getting paid for it. The league's making money hand over fist for it. Why stop it? Would I personally want a different commissioner with a little more personality? Sure. Get me David Baker out of the Hall of Fame and bring him to the NFL. Former Arena Football League commissioner David Baker is one of the greatest commissioners to ever commission anything.
Yeah.
He did a great job with the Arena Football League. He jumped over to the Hall of Fame, and I think he's done a wonderful job kind of revamping the Hall of Fame a little bit, giving it a new kind of personality, a little more of a personal touch. I've been loving when he started doing the going door to door to now it's all
knocking on the doors the night before.
Fantastic. It's one of my favorite things ever. And he's a big dude.
Oh man,
we've seen him in person several times.
I stood next to him.
He's
after
such a big dude.
In Detroit,
He's one of and like they do the presentation. I think on NFL Network they've had him. Great public speaking. Yeah. He's got a great, friendly, just kind of warming presence. Yeah. If you had him as NFL commissioner, who's gonna get mad at him? Who's gonna yell at David Baker? Nobody gonna yell at David Baker. You kidding me?
That's true. That's very true. And like you said, the NFL is making money hand over fist. They made a big profit that one year when they played to empty stadiums. So what does that tell you? They don't care about the fans. They don't need the fans. It's just more hassle they got to deal with.
They could play in one location and have all their games there and still make a bunch of money. Are you kidding me?
As long as it's on TV, people will watch. Sponsors will pay. They will make money.
Yeah.
All right. Do have some CFL news to talk about. The Canadian Football Hall of Fame class of 2023 was announced last week. They have 7 players and 2 builders going in this fall.
Now, explain to me what a builder is again. For those of you out there who aren't familiar with this, what's a builder?
Builders are coaches, owners, officials, anybody other than a player on the team can be a builder. Usually it's like owners or executives. And I'll give you a couple examples here from this year's list. So the 7 players are defensive end John Bowman, who played mainly with Montreal, linebacker Solomon Eliminian, who played with the BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, offensive lineman Josh Burke, who played with Montreal and Toronto, offensive lineman Lloyd Fairbanks, who played with Calgary, Montreal, and Hamilton, and defensive back Larry Crawford, who played with the British Columbia Lions and the Toronto Argonauts. In the builder category this year, they have Coach Jacques Dussault, who was an assistant coach in the CFL, but also spent most of his time as a coach in college with Acadia, Mount Allison, and the University of Montreal. And then the other builder is a guy by the name of Larry Smith, who was the 8th commissioner of the Canadian Football League from 1992 to 1996. So that's the difference between a builder and a player.
Oh.
You got your players and then everybody else. So in this case this year, former commissioner and a coach in college and CFL.
Heck yeah.
So a lot of the builders that's why it's not the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian football because they'll put in high school coaches, who've been, coaching for 20, 30, 40 years, college coaches, that sort of thing. Owners,
Yeah.
commissioners.
Which is a great distinction, because like you got the Canadian Football Hall of Fame that does that. They include everybody.
Right.
As opposed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which seems to really neglect the other professional football that's
Right.
played.
Right.
Uh,
They call it pro football, but it's basically
it's
the
really the
NFL.
NFL Hall of Fame, and
Yep.
I'm surprised they haven't rebranded it to that. I mean,
Yeah.
but whatever. I guess I could whine and moan about that on a different day. But look, good for these guys. We've been to the Hall of Fame before when it was in its own location there in Hamilton, and then
Oh, yeah.
now they put it in the
The
stadium
stadium in Hamilton.
in
Yep.
Hamilton, which is
Moved it across
interesting,
town.
but it takes away a little bit from me. Like it's weird walking in a back hallway to see all their bus. It's just like, man, it's like
Yeah.
you guys just wheel these into a back room and want to forget about them. Like
Yeah,
it's a little
Yeah,
disappointing.
they didn't build any specific space for it. They just used the space that was there in the stadium that wasn't being used for much else.
Yeah.
So it was much better when it was a separate building
Yeah.
down right in the center of downtown Hamilton. We went there a couple times. That was awesome. I mean, it was nowhere near the Pro Football Hall
Oh,
of
of course
Fame,
not.
but it had a lot more exhibits and
A little bit more
displays. And
personality to
yeah,
it.
it was nice. It was
Yeah.
nice. And now it's you've got to go to Hamilton. You've got to go to a game, and then after a game, well, I think they have it open a couple, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. But for the most part, if you go to a game, you can go get in line after the game, and then they'll let you in for half an hour or an hour to walk around and
Yeah.
see the few exhibits they've got and all the bus and everything. Um, but yeah, it was much better when it was a separate location.
Agreed.
Maybe they'll build a separate
I
building
hope
next
so
to the
because
stadium there.
that's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
stuff to just like walk down a weird hallway and then like they have like 1 or 2 rooms kind of with they have the
Right.
Grey Cup at one. I think we got our
Right.
picture taken with in.
Couple of uniforms or something.
Yeah,
Nothing like what it was.
it's just man, it seems like it should be a little more of a Hall of Fame and not the
Right.
back alleyway behind the pretzel stand, which is what it actually is, which is
Yeah.
weird.
No, and it wasn't a pretzel stand.
I
It
know
was,
it's not. I mean, technically, it's like by like the luxury suites or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But it just feels like you're walking to the back of the stadium and you're walking down a weird back hallway. It's like
Yeah.
I wonder how many food vendors are wheeling their carts back here to get to the other
Yeah.
vendor areas.
It was different, but that's what it is right now.
And let's say what it is, because it wouldn't stop us from doing it again
No, I'd go.
if we were back.
Yeah, if I went to another game in Hamilton, I would
Of course
probably
we'd
get
do
back
it,
in
but-
line and go look through it again. Hey, let's see what's different
Yeah.
this time. All right, today's birthday, March 21st. Hall of Fame coach Tom Flores turns 86 today. He played quarterback in college at the College of the Pacific, and he played 9 NFL seasons from 1960 to 1969 with the Oakland Raiders, the Buffalo Bills, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then he spent 12 seasons as a head coach in the NFL with the Oakland/LA Raiders from 79 to 87, and with the Seattle Seahawks from 92 to 94. And he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2 years ago in 2021.
Yep, and I think one of the best speeches that year for sure. One of my favorite ones I've ever watched. I thought his speech was fantastic.
Yeah, some are really good. Some are, these guys don't really want to be up there talking. Some of them, they're I don't know, they just aren't very good. But like you said, his was one of the better ones. Okay, so now we have 2 obituaries to talk about this week. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Our first obituary is that of Glenn Weir, a defensive end in the Canadian Football League for 13 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 71. Weir played for the Montreal Alouettes from 1972 to 1981, and for the Montreal Concords from 1982 to 1984. He played in 5 Grey Cup games, winning 2 CFL titles in 1974 and 1977. He was named the defensive MVP of the 1977 Grey Cup game. Canadian singer-songwriter Donovan Woods wrote a song about him called "My Cousin Has a Grey Cup Ring." And I had never heard of this before, but I looked it up on YouTube, and it's pretty good. So I'm going to be sending that out on Twitter and Facebook in the next day or so. Weir was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2009.
All right, and our last obituary this week is that of Jeff Gaylord, a defensive end in the Canadian Football League and United States Football League, has passed away at the age of 64. Gaylord played his college football at the University of Missouri and was selected in the fourth round of the 1982 NFL Draft by the Los Angeles Rams. However, he was cut during training camp and then signed with the CFL's Toronto Argonauts, playing in 4 games with the team in 1982. In 1983, he played for the Boston Breakers of the United States Football League. Gaylord then moved with the Breakers to Louisiana and played for the New Orleans Breakers in 1984. He was then traded to the USFL's San Antonio Gunslingers in 1985, and that's where he finished his playing career.
Yeah, I didn't put this in there, but I read that he was also a professional wrestler
Wow.
after his playing career was over. They listed his name or some of the people that he wrestled with, and I didn't mean anything to me, but he was a professional wrestler also. Okay, anything breaking as far as player transactions?
Nothing really right now. So
Okay,
I think we are on the safe side till the microphones stop at the end of the show.
yeah.
That's when all the stuff's gonna
Then
hit
your
the
phone
fan.
goes ding, 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 ding. All these
Yep.
different
And I try to
transactions.
come back and rally you into the room to keep recording, and you go, nope, it's done.
Yeah,
See you next week.
that ship has passed.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this week's history lesson. And this week, we're going to tell the history of a defunct league that was trying to be a feeder league to the NFL a few years ago, and that would be the United Football League. Established in 2009, the UFL was another pro football league looking to give players a chance to play and possibly be signed by an NFL or CFL team. It lasted just 3.5 seasons before shutting down due to financial problems. The league was founded by William Hambrecht, a financier who helped fund Apple, Google, and Adobe, as well as Tim Armstrong, the CEO of America Online. The first season in 2009, there were 4 teams: the California Redwoods, Florida Tuskers, Las Vegas Locomotives, and New York Sentinels. The UFL played a 6-game schedule in the fall. The first title game was played on November 27, 2009. The Las Vegas Locomotives defeated the Florida Tuskers 20-17 in overtime. The game was played at Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. In their second season, the New York Sentinels moved to Connecticut and became the Hartford Colonials. The California Redwoods team was renamed the Sacramento Mountain Lions, and an expansion team was added called the Omaha Nighthawks. Florida and Las Vegas teams remained the same. The league also expanded its season to 8 games. On October 9, 2010, former Washington Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann was named president and part owner of the Florida Tuskers. Also in 2010, Mark Cuban, owner of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks, became an investor in the league. The second UFL title game was played on November 27, 2010. The Locomotives once again defeated the Tuskers in the championship game, this time by the score of 23-20. A 6th team was added in 2011, the Virginia Destroyers. However, the Florida Tuskers folded, and all of its players were reassigned to the new Destroyers team, including head coach Jay Gruden. The league also suspended operation of the Hartford Colonials. Players assigned to the Hartford team were reassigned via a dispersal draft to the other 3 teams. This left the UFL with just 4 teams again, who played a 6-game season. On October 17, 2011, after only 4 weeks of play, the UFL announced that it was canceling the final 2 weeks of the season in a cost-cutting move. The championship game, which was originally scheduled for November 5th, was played on October 21st. The Virginia Destroyers defeated the Las Vegas Locomotives 17-3. The league went back to an 8-game schedule in 2012 and kicked off its 4th season in September with the same 4 teams that played in 2011. But on October 20th, after 4 weeks of play, the league announced that the remaining 4 games, as well as the championship game, would be played in the spring of 2013. However, the UFL never returned. One distinction that the UFL had was that they employed the first female game official. Sarah Thomas worked UFL games before being hired as the first full-time female referee in the NFL in 2015. Well-known coaches in the UFL included Marty Schottenheimer of the Virginia Destroyers and Jim Fossil of the Las Vegas Locomotives. Schottenheimer had previously been a head coach in the NFL for 21 years with the Cleveland Browns, Kansas City Chiefs, Washington Redskins, and San Diego Chargers. Fossil was the head coach of the NFL's New York Giants for 7 seasons. Former Minnesota Vikings and Arizona Cardinals head coach Dennis Green was the head coach of the California Redwoods/Sacramento Mountain Lions from 2009 to 2011. In 2010, his former Vikings quarterback, Dante Culpepper, joined Green on the team for 1 season. Many football leagues have tried to get a foothold as a feeder league to the NFL. While the United Football League lasted a bit longer than most, in the end, it too failed.
I remember when this league was coming out, I was very excited. They had the way their uniforms were the first year. Every team was kind of the same style uniform. It was just different colors, very unique logos, and
Yeah, cool names.
cool names. So it was like, all right, this could be a fun little, because it had been 7 years since the XFL, 8 years since the XFL. So it was like, okay, another spring league. Let's, hopefully this will be good. And yeah, that's
Actually,
it was a league. It came and went.
yeah, this wasn't a spring league though. They were playing in the fall, which it probably should have been a spring league.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have lasted more than 3.5 seasons. But other feeder leagues, the XFL originally only lasted 1 season. This one was 3.5, a little bit better than most, but
Yeah.
still didn't have what it took to really stay with it.
I mean, it had a lot of great names, like you mentioned, like
Yep.
Marty Schottenheimer
Yep.
and Jay Gruden and Dennis Green. Dante Culpepper even
Yep.
played it.
Jim Fossil.
A lot of other players. I think a Super Bowl MVP, Dexter Jackson, I think from the Buccaneers, was in this league. So had a bunch of guys, which were doing like we see in the XFL now, guys who are trying to get back to the NFL. Like AJ McCarron and a bunch of guys. So there is a place for a developmental league or a league to feed into the NFL. It's just none of them have worked.
Right. Will the XFL and the USFL work? One
Nope.
or the other or both?
Right. I mean, the USFL's got a better track record right now. Because they were previously the spring league before they
Right.
transitioned into the USFL. So they've at least had a sustainability factor right now. The XFL, we'll have to wait and see. I won't get into the ratings and all that because I don't know. They're going up against March Madness right now. What kind of ratings can you expect from a spring league like this? So
Yeah, that's hard to compete with. That's for sure.
I mean, we know some people out there who are definitely hammering at home the ratings not being great. I've seen it all over Twitter. Like, whatever. Let's just. It's good football right now. I think it's good enough for me to watch.
Sure.
And it's year one. Let's see what happens.
Yep. All right, our upcoming events calendar. Sunday, April 16th, USFL regular season begins. Thursday, April 27th through the 29th, the NFL draft is going to take place in Kansas City. The CFL draft is going to take place on Tuesday, May 2nd. Friday, May 22nd, the CFL preseason begins. And on Saturday, May 23rd, the XFL championship game will be played in San Antonio. Thursday, June 8th, the CFL regular season begins. And on Thursday, August 3rd, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, featuring the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. So it never ends.
It never ends.
The world of football is constant and everlasting. Okay. Anything else before we close this show today?
No, all I'm going to say is that your little catchphrase there is not going to stick or go on a t-shirt.
Oh.
It is nowhere near my great slogan for the Lions will play like booty unless they draft Jake Moody. I'm going to hammer that one home.
Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football over on Facebook. You can find us just by doing facebook.com/TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow us on Twitter. The address is @TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this very podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find the full audio version of the podcast on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@theworldoffootball, or you can search for The World of Football Kalamazoo to find us. We got a lot of videos and stuff up there on top of having an audio podcast on there. So be on the lookout. Video versions of the history lesson, which we're starting to do, and we are kind of slowly working towards doing some of the 1 minute shorts.
Yep.
Definitely, I wrote something up, and we're gonna try to experiment with that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We are also on Amazon Music, so please simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast, and then feel free to subscribe, rate, review, give us another like, leave all the comments. Let us know what you think. If you got opinions on stuff, we try to interact with everybody. It's been great. YouTube comments are a lot of fun for me. I know I'm on top of them a little more than you are.
Yeah.
I try to respond to as many people as we can.
Yeah. I don't respond because I know you get to it before I do.
Usually do. But you've beat me a couple times before to it. But hey, we're all fans of different teams, and if we insult your team, hey, let us know. I'd love having a conversation.
We won't stop. We'll just let us know.
It's been friendly conversation in a lot of those comment threads. Talking about the indoor football league. What could the new arena league? We missed a few cities probably in our arena football video. So people saying, "What about this team? What about this team?" It's like, hey, you guys are all making great picks. We want every team to come back. Any team that comes back is a win in our book. Like, it doesn't have to be 100% be our list, but that's what's so fun about doing the World of Football and having that YouTube channel and growing that YouTube channel. So please, guys, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
Yeah, you and I are both going out of town this
Separate
weekend.
trips.
Separate trips.
You're going south. I'm going north.
Yep. And I may actually fit in a grave visit.
Of course you would.
Down in Tennessee.
Way to drag my mother into your shenanigans, sir.
Somebody's got to take the picture.
That's what a tripod and the timer on your phone's for. You don't need nobody.
It's easier to hand her the phone and say, "Snap a couple, hon.
You don't need nobody.
I'm gonna pose over here by this grave, and then I'll be writing an article on it, and I'll post it on the website. So that's where the original articles comes from. But yeah, hopefully that works out. I try to look up the map of the cemetery, with all the sections, and I try and find out what section this person's in. This particular one down in Tennessee, I got nothing, and I had to call somebody, and the guy answered the phone. The first phone number was no good for the cemetery, so I called another number, and I finally got a guy that goes, "Oh yeah." He had such a bad Southern accent.
Whoa, bad.
Well, it was thick.
Okay.
I couldn't understand.
There's a difference between.
It took me a minute. My mom was Italian, so I grew up listening to accents, so I can pick up an accent pretty good. But sometimes it takes me a minute to get into it. So this guy started talking, and he told me that he works there at the cemetery, or he knows exactly where that grave is. Kind of a famous cemetery for what I'm looking for. And he said, "I can't tell you where it is, but you get to town, you call me, and I'll come over and show you." So that's what's going to happen.
Oh, God.
He kind of gave me some idea of where it's at, so I'm going to try and find it first. And if I can't find it, I got his number, and I'm going to call him up and say, "Hey, Jerry, come on, show me where this grave is," and he's coming right over.
Well, I'm glad this was your last show to be on before getting murdered by a Tennessee grave digger.
No, he just
luring you into a grave.
It was just a very thick Southern accent. I wasn't quite expecting that, but it's Tennessee. But no, once I heard him talking, I was fine. But just initially, it just caught me a little off guard.
As long as you don't look at that grave or that headstone and you go, "Are you Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see." As long as you don't do that, Randy, you'll be fine.
I guess I'll be fine then. All right. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow. Have fun on your trip.
Same to you.
Yeah.
See you all next week.